Imagine you hire the smartest person you've ever met. You give him a problem. 5 minutes later, boom, perfect answer. You stare at him. How did you solve it? He looks at you. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I just did. You're the smart guy. Now imagine that guy as a computer. That's basically the problem with modern AI. We can give it a huge amount of information. It learns patterns. It starts making crazy good decisions. And then sometimes we ask the most normal question in the world. Why did you choose that answer? And suddenly, the smartest thing in the room has the explanation skills of a kid caught eating the last cookie. Who ate it? Was it you? Why are there crumbs on your shirt? That's unrelated. That's the II black box. We can see what goes in. We can see what comes out. But inside, there's a whole lot of stuff happening that we can't easily follow. And here's where it gets really interesting. If nobody can see exactly how II reaches a decision, how did it learn to make that decision in the first place? Here's the weird thing. Nobody teaches a .I every single answer. You don't sit there saying, okay, buddy, lesson 1, cats have 4 legs. Then tomorrow, excellent work. Today, dogs. Instead, you give it tons of examples, and eventually it starts spotting patterns. A bit like a kid who sees enough dogs that eventually he stops calling every furry thing a cat. Although, give him a chihuahua and a very ugly mop, and we're back to square one. II does this on a completely different scale. It sees enormous amounts of information and adjusts itself over and over until it gets better at the job. The strange part, nobody manually writes down every pattern. It discovers, it finds them itself. So when the AI gives you an answer, there isn't always a neat little note inside saying, "Dear human, I chose this because of paragraph 7. Nope. The answer comes out, and now we're standing there going, okay, but what happened in there? And that's when the black box starts looking less like a computer and more like your friend who somehow knows the answer but refuses to show the homework. But here's the problem. What happens when the pattern it learned is completely wrong? This is where things get awkward. AI can be incredibly confident while being completely wrong. You've probably seen it. You ask a chatbot something simple, it gives you a beautiful answer, perfect grammar, nice little paragraphs, sounds like it graduated from Harvard. Then you check the facts and suddenly you're like, brother, where did you get this? The scary part isn't just the mistake, it's figuring out why the mistake happened. Maybe the AI noticed something tiny, a word, a shape, a background detail, a pattern nobody thought mattered, and that tiny thing pushed it toward the wrong answer. So now you've got a machine saying, I am 100% confident, and you're sitting there thinking, you shouldn't even be 12% confident. It's like your friend giving you directions with the confidence of Google Maps while you're already driving through somebody's backyard. And if you don't know which clue caused the mistake, how do you fix it? That's the real headache, because telling the AI mate, you got that wrong, isn't exactly a repair manual. So now we have an even bigger problem. How do you fix something when you don't know which part caused it to break? At this point, you're probably thinking, just open the thing and look inside. Yeah, sounds easy, until you realize what's inside isn't a little box labeled reason for bad decision, click here. Modern AI has enormous numbers of settings that all work together. Change one thing, it can affect another, that affects another, and suddenly you've got a giant mathematical spiderweb. Trying to trace one decision through all of it is like trying to figure out why your entire family started arguing at dinner. You ask dad, dad blames mom blames your brother says he wasn't even there, and somehow Grandma is now involved. Good luck finding the beginning. That's why researchers are trying to understand what's happening inside these models. They look for patterns, they test different inputs, they watch what changes. Basically, they're doing detective work on a machine they built themselves, which is slightly embarrassing. Imagine building a car, then spending the next 5 years asking, okay, but why does the left wheel do that? But they're getting better at it. And that leads to the next problem. If we can sometimes understand what's happening inside, can we eventually make the whole black box transparent? Now we're getting somewhere. Researchers are working on ways to make a tie easier to understand. The basic idea is simple, a tie makes a decision, and we want it to show us the important clues that got it there. Sounds great. Except, there's a sneaky little problem. What if the explanation sounds right, but isn't actually what happened? Think about humans. Ask someone, why did you buy that terrible shirt? They'll probably give you an answer. It matches my shoes. No, you bought it because it was 70% off and your brain temporarily stopped working. We do this all the time. We make a decision first, then come up with a nice explanation afterward. AI can have its own version of this problem. So researchers aren't just trying to make a AI talk more. They're trying to figure out whether the explanation actually matches what's happening inside, because a confident explanation isn't automatically a true explanation, and that leaves us with the biggest question of the whole thing. If we can never understand every tiny thing a AI is doing? Should we trust it anyway? Here's the funny thing. You already trust machines you don't completely understand. You press a button on your phone, and somehow a message appears on somebody else's phone. You get in your car, turn the wheel, and expect the giant metal box to behave itself. And most of us have absolutely no idea how half of that stuff works. We just trust it. But there's a difference. With most machines, we understand enough to know when something has gone wrong. The AI is different. Sometimes it can give you an answer that looks brilliant without giving you a clear path to that answer. That's why the black box matters, not because AI is secretly alive. Not because it's hiding evil plans under your desk. And definitely not because your laptop is sitting there at night thinking, soon, the real issue is much simpler. AI can become very good at getting answers before humans become equally good at understanding how it got them. And that's the part worth watching, because the future isn't really about making AI smarter, it's about making sure we understand the smart thing we're trusting. And if you think that sounds complicated, wait until you find out what happens when an AI starts doing things its creators never told it to do. That's the next rabbit hole. Subscribe, because apparently we've decided 6 minutes of AI confusion wasn't enough for us. I'll see you in the next one.